Hello, so I'm making this brief video for hips and hamstrings. And the reason I'm doing it is because we've been doing some gym workouts lately, my husband Tom and I have noticed that my hips and quads and hamstrings are really tight. So gym workouts are great, and we need to give our hips and hamstrings especially a little more TLC if we're doing lots of squats and lunges and burpees and deadlifts and all that stuff that builds our core muscles around our hips. So on Tom's suggestion, I'm going to keep it brief. He thinks that 15 minutes, 20 max is a perfect length, so I'm going to give it a try. As usual, we'll start by just sitting quietly and centering, following our breath, and then we'll warm the spine a little bit and get the rest done. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable. If not, just maybe gaze down at the floor. And just simply start to follow your inhale and your exhale. Maybe making that ocean breath sound like you're fogging a mirror with your mouth closed. That's actually physically good for your brain-gut connection. So just sitting up tall like this can be kind of a diagnostic tool for where you're tight in your hips or weak in your spine. So just notice, maybe switch the cross of your legs. Notice what that feels like. Take a couple of breaths. So commit to this brief practice of listening to your body and giving your hips and hamstrings a little TLC, a little bit of noticing. So if you haven't float your eyes open. And I have a few props here. I have a strap, which you don't need. You could just hold on to your leg when we get there. A couple of blocks, which you might want to use to help you in a one-legged balance we're going to do. I'm also set up right by the wall, so you can use that for balance as well. So if you don't have the props you need and you want to grab them, do that, and we'll get ready to go. So we're going to start by laying on our back to warm our spine a little bit. Check in with our hips. So bring your heels close to your hips. Just hip width apart so everything's on the railroad tracks. Ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, and then make the back of your neck long. On your inhale, you're going to push your feet into the mat, lift your hips to the sky. On your exhale, drop your hips to the mat. On your inhale, pull your knees into your chest. On your exhale, take your heels to the sky. Inhale right here. Exhale, draw your knees back in. Inhale, plant your feet right where they were. And exhale. We're going to do that one more time. Inhale, knees in. Exhale, heels up. Inhale. Exhale, knees bend. Inhale, drop the feet. Lengthen the spine and exhale. Good. Inhale, knees in, feel that belly. Exhale, stretch the legs. Inhale right there. Exhale, softening. Inhale, plant. And take a breath. And then we're going to inhale, lift our hips up again. So you might feel this stretch in your quads. Just let your spine be long. Again, we're just always trying to make more space. Shouldn't be any crunching in your low back. So this feels a little bit like a pelvic tilt, right? That's what we want to go for when we're doing these little back bends. Keep our low back safe. Exhaling, gently release. And either roll to one side or grab the backs of your thighs. And we're going to come on up to all fours. Just flip on your knees. Hands right under the shoulders, knees right under the hips. Inhale, one leg out behind you, toes pointing down. And then take the opposite arm, thumb to the ceiling. So all the muscles of the core engaged. One more deep breath. And exhaling, gently release. We'll go right to the other side, right? Inhaling, heel out, toes pointing down, belly pulled in. Take the opposite arm, thumb to the ceiling. Couple breaths here. You might notice a difference from one side to the other. Just notice, no judgment. Cool. And exhale, gently release. So just rock your hips from side to side a bit. And then drop your hips to your heels. So reach the spine out long. Maybe your arms go a little bit further forward. And you can drop your forehead to the mat. If your forehead doesn't get there, you could take one of those blocks, or you could stack your fists. So whatever you're doing, just keep your spine long. So as we begin to move in our one-legged balance, we're also going to drop our head below our heart. So remember that if you have any eye issues, if you've had recent surgery or you have a condition like glaucoma, you should not have your head below your heart. So modify as you need. Good. So inhaling, come on back up to all fours. We're going to curl our toes under, drop your belly, and lift your hips to down dog. So remember that you want to get an upside down V shape, but your knees don't have to be straight. If your hamstrings are really tight, keep your knees a little bit bent. And just gradually work on straightening your legs. So maybe we walk the dog here, kind of like we rocked our hips from side to side on all fours. We're just moving the body weight. Good. So inhaling, look at your thumbs, and exhale, walk your feet in to meet your hands. So this is where a block might come handy if your hamstrings are tight. Brings the floor closer to you. All right, so I'm going to put my 2 blocks right here. So before we do a little stretching, we want to get the muscles nice and warm, right? So we're going to do like a little one-legged chair pose. So bring your hands to your heart, drop your tailbone. You should be able to see your toes. Your weight is way back in your heels. And I'm going to shift my body weight to just one leg. So find one place on the mat in front of you to gaze. That'll help you balance, and see if you can lift the other leg. So here's another diagnostic tool. Let's see if you can extend both legs into a warrior 3. So you might need to bail and use the blocks, right? So now you're like a capital T shape. You can feel the strength that takes in your hips. And exhaling, gently release. Sweep your arms forward, give yourself a little rest there, a back bend. And exhale your hands back to your heart. You can feel the heat building in the legs. Switch to the other leg. Again, maybe noticing the difference. It's okay. So on an inhale, get long and strong. See if you can extend both legs. You could always use the wall for support. Come back to the block. Use your gaze. I notice the difference from one side to the other. One more deep breath. And exhaling, gently release back into chair pose. Feet are parallel, weight is in the heels. Sweep your arms up. And then exhale, bring your hands back to the blocks or maybe to the floor. And let your spine relax. If it's safe, let your head hang. Inhaling, lift the hips. Maybe come halfway up, sweeping the fingertips under the knees. And exhaling, bend. Good. So probably feeling nice and strong after that. We're going to do standing split. Stretch that hamstring, work the core a little bit. Again, you can have your hands on the blocks. You can take them to the floor. You're going to shift your weight into that first leg, maybe your left leg, and take the other leg to the ceiling. So here you want to keep your spine long, right? So maybe that means you have to bend the standing leg, the knee a little bit. Remember, it's a journey. Couple breaths here. And exhaling, gently release. We're going to go right to the other side, right? Inhaling. Take the other leg to the ceiling. You see you've lost my foot on the screen. It's there. Keep reaching toward the ceiling. Lengthen the spine. And exhale, gently release. Good. So grabbing hold of those blocks, we're going to step one leg back in high lunge, right? And then float that back knee down. So once again, after that deep forward fold, inhaling, sweep the arms up. Just a little bit of a quad stretch and a back bend. And then bring your hands back to the blocks of the floor, and you're going to walk that front foot way out to the edge of your mat, and then turn the toes out like kind of diagonally, right? And I like to keep my hand on the block because my arms are kind of short, and that way I can keep my spine long. So if I go to the floor, I have to round. Then you're going to come onto the outer edge of that front foot, so maybe you can see the arch, the bottom of your foot, pushing your hand into that thigh or knee gently. Just getting nice and long. Probably should feel this in both hips. Good. So we're going to be efficient with our time here. And as you come out of that, we're going to go straight into pigeon on our legs. So I'm basically just walking that front foot over to the other edge of the mat, and then I'm going to sit down on that hip. So be careful of your knees here. If bothers your knees to do pigeon this way, do it on your back. Right? So get really, really long, and then exhale. Keep your body weight in the center and fold forward. So maybe you're on your forearms. Maybe you rest your head on a block. Take several breaths here. So remember, the hips don't lie. If you're screaming to get out of this pose, maybe you've gone a little too deeply. Back off a little bit and find some place to soften. Good. Inhaling. Come on back up. You're going to sit right back onto that hip of the front leg. Sweep the back leg all the way around. So now you're stacking your knees one on top of the other. Your feet are kind of out to the side like seal feet. Inhale, get really, really tall. This might be really challenging. If your hips are super tight, you could sit up on a block, and that's going to give you a little more space, right? Sit up really, really tall, and then exhale slowly and gently. Fold forward. Keep those hips rooted. Good. Inhaling, gently release. And we're in a great position to just go to the other side. So plant that front foot, right? That's going to become the front leg of our low lunge. Shift your weight into that leg. All right? Stretch it out, get nice and long. Soften that back leg. Maybe inhale your arms up like we did on the other side, right? Feel that quad stretch. And then you're going to walk your foot out to the edge of your mat. Let the toes point out. So safe with your knee. Look at that arch and gently push. Dropping the right hip, opening the left knee. Nice. And then we just scoot that foot over to the other side of the mat for pigeon. Right? So being careful with your knee, keep your foot flexed. That'll help you protect your knee as you come down. Get your body weight right back over both hips. And on an exhale, fold forward. Again, noticing the difference from one side to the other, and then just letting go. Maybe exhaling a breath of gratitude for all these stabilizer muscles, your hamstrings, your glutes, your core, belly, front belly muscles that keep us stable. And then inhaling. Gently come on back up, and now we're going to roll onto that front hip, swing the back leg all the way around, Stack on the knees, one over the other as best you can. Sit up on a block if you need. Get tall. Inhale. And then exhale, folding forward. I like to do this with a flat spine. I think you get more out of it. There's really no reason to roll over. We spend enough time hunched over. Good. Inhaling. Come on up, grab hold of your strap. You could use a necktie, or you don't need it. You can hold the back of your legs. All right, so we're going to shift into boat pose. Lift those shins to the ceiling. And if you're able, roll yourself down onto the mat. So you might want to rest your hands. You might need to adjust, move forward a little. Exhaling, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oops. Some days are better than others, and that's okay. So grab that strap. Take the strap right around the ball of your foot. You're going to push your foot into the strap, right? So the goal is to have it at least 90 degrees. If that means you need to work with a flexed foot, that's okay. What you don't want to do is get below 90 degrees, because then you're mostly using your quadricep muscle, and you're not really going to be able to get that stretch. So push that heel toward the ceiling, draw the toes toward the knee. This is working that whole power chain, right? Really important. If you're doing long walks and gym workouts, you might end up with plantar fasciitis. Gotta keep all those muscles and tendons in the back of the legs stretched. So you might want to cross over a little bit and feel that IT band, right? Doesn't take much to feel that. Inhaling, come on back up. This is one of my favorite things to do. Draw the knee into the chest and then lay it down beside the other one. Just notice the difference between one leg and the other. But we need to even ourselves out, so let's go to the other side. Heel to the ceiling. All right, let me stretch that other leg out. Oof. Feel tight. Again, try and keep your foot, bottom of the foot, right toward the ceiling. Bend your knee as much as you need to make that happen. And then holding the strap in just that one hand, maybe take the leg across the body. The goal is to keep this bottom, this right hip, pushing toward the mat, because otherwise it just becomes a spinal twist, right? Keeping your hips stable. And you've done it. Ta-da! Inhaling. Bring that leg back up, let go of the strap, draw your knee into your chest, and exhaling, take your heel down. And notice if you've evened out. So maybe rock your hips from side to side, tuck your shoulder blades under, try and move all the props and things out of your way. I've got a couple of props here that might help your Shavasana. You could take a blanket and tuck it under your head, or you could take the bolster and put it behind your spine. I'm going to do both. So never cheat yourself out of Shavasana, even if it's just for a few breaths, right? Palms up to receive all that good energy you created. Legs relaxed, and simply inhale and exhale. So I'm on my 5th deep breath. Let's do 5 more. Soften between the eyebrows, soften the jaw. going to slowly and gently get moving. Maybe lift the hips into a little bridge pose. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. Turn me off and stay in Shavasana for as long as you like. And when you're ready, you'll roll to one side. Maybe keep your eyes closed. Coming back up to seated. Just do a little check-in and notice how your body feels now. Inhaling, take your arms up to the sky. And exhaling, bring your hands to your heart center. Inhaling one more time. Exhaling, bow your head to your own heart. So the spirit in me honors the spirit in you. Remember, gym workouts are good. And a little TLC for the hips and hamstrings are good too. Spirit in me honors the spirit in you. Namaste.